Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Brilliantly You Business Show. This episode is going to be awesome if you want to be able to close more sales with your leads and your prospects. So how would it kind of be for you and change your business if you could actually get on a call, whether it's Zoom, on the phone, Messenger, and actually have a much higher close rate with your products and services, and actually have a bit more structure and idea with what to say, and how to not feel sleazy, salesy, and make that conversation just run like clockwork. This episode is going to be for you for that, because I brought on an amazing friend of mine. She's a fantastic marketer, entrepreneur, and a sales expert, Emma Jones, and she's going to be sharing her best practices, golden nuggets. You're going to get so much value from her to help you to be able to sell more of your stuff if it really relies on you having more conversations and doing it in an authentic way that feels good for you and also for your prospects, so they don't feel like they're being kind of blasted with, no one likes to be sold to. So I'm really looking forward to this episode. Make sure you stick around for this whole thing, because you're going to get lots of awesome nuggets and take notes, all the things. This is going to be awesome. So welcome, Emma. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Jenny. I always get a bit, I don't know what I'm like with compliments, but when people introduce me on these type of things on podcasts, I still always get a bit shy, a bit gushy.
Well, it's true. I'm not just saying it to blow smoke up your ass. It's true. You are amazing, and we'll kind of go into a bit about your sort of journey so far in this and kind of what's brought you to where you are now and all of your amazing achievements that you've got. But yeah, take the compliment. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
So Emma and I have known each other for probably maybe six years now.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Quite a while, 5-6 years. And so I met Emma as in a mastermind in a mentoring company. We both are being mentored by the same people to learn how to do this marketing stuff on a higher level and develop our skills to be able to attract people rather than kind of spamming people and blasting social media with our products and services. And Emma was one of the top affiliates for that company as well. So she really was able to be in that top level to be able to get leads and sales, but also she worked for that company as a sales coach, which I'll let her kind of talk a bit about that. So she knows her stuff. So Emma, I'd love to kind of just have you introduce yourself and kind of just tell people a little bit about kind of what you do and how a bit of your journey and how you kind of got to where you are now, and some of those, shout about yourself, toot your own horn, some of those accomplishments that you've done.
Yeah, well, like you said, that's how we met in that company, where I was like twofold, really. I was being an affiliate, so I was out there actually generating leads, making sales, doing all the automation, doing all the marketing stuff. But I was lucky, really, because I got employed really early on as a sales coach for the company as well. So I was in the trenches. I was well and truly in the trenches with that company, talking to customers every single day, having so much practice around sales and, closing high-end ticket sales as well. So, and if you're not familiar with what I mean by that, the products and the services that we were selling on a daily basis were thousands. It wasn't like a couple of $100. Yeah. We were talking thousands, but the same sales process applied for the couple of $100 as it did for the thousands. So, but I was lucky because I was employed by the company, so I was in the trenches and I got to practice so much. And I was able to get access to some of the best sales training, literally, you could get anywhere in the world. We were getting like the best of the best. And that's where I learned so much of my skills to do with selling. One, because I was in the role. Two, because I was getting coached by some of the best sales coaches on the planet. But also because I was in the trenches doing it on a daily basis. And I was in that role for 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Is it that long? Wow.
Yeah, it was since 2015. I was taken on really quite early in that role. They invited me out to Vegas to their company event at one time, where I closed $125,000 of sales in basically 24 hours. It was crazy. So that was like face-to-face selling, because what we used to do was over Zoom. And yeah, I'm no longer a coach with the company, but I'd acquired so many skills, so many years of experience within that role, that when I left that role, I decided to also write a book about selling. And it's still a skill set that I teach a lot of my students and what I do today as well as marketing. So yeah, that's kind of like my sales background. And prior to the company that we were in, I've always been in some type of role that's to do with sales. So I've kind of been surrounded by it most of my adult life in my career. I've always been selling something, selling and teaching. So yeah, I suppose I've got the experience and the years to back it up as well.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize that your career was in sales as well. So that's cool.
Yeah, I've always had something to do with involved with either teaching or selling.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, it's, you know, you had that opportunity to be in the trenches, you know, you got to, I'm sure you could probably look back to the, like when you started as that sales coach compared to like, well, towards the end, you know, I mean, how did you feel about when you first started really talking to people and having lots of conversations? Can you remember what it was like for you in those earlier days?
Yeah, it was like ignorance on fire. But do you know what? Sometimes you get a bit of like beginner's luck as a sales coach. And this is kind of linked to one of the things I teach my students, is sometimes when you know too much, that's an easy mistake that people can do in terms of when they're talking to a prospect about their product or their service or whatever it is they're doing or that they're trying to sell. Because they're an expert and they know so much, it's very easy for them to blurt all that information out their prospect, to like give way too much information and go way too much in depth. And when you do that, you actually push the sale away. So funnily enough, I think I had quite a lot of success at the beginning of my role. And what I used to find was when new coaches came on board with the company, they'd have a short spell at the beginning where they do really well, because they weren't doing that mistake of being an expert about the product and talking too much about it. Yeah. Because that is a really easy, it's a really easy mistake to make.
Yeah, because I think it doesn't matter what business you're in. Like we both kind of came from the network marketing, direct sales space where, you know, that's what you're doing. You're selling products. And that's a mistake that well, I know I did, you know, like I used to sort of word vomit on people. And I think that, like you said, that's one of those biggest mistakes, is if you're not feeling confident in either what you're selling or how to talk to people effectively, you can just, someone's like, oh, I'm interested. And you just go blur and just, you know, word diarrhea over everybody. So so just talk a little bit more about like what's the reason that it repels people?
Okay, so you need, if you're listening to this now or you're watching this now, grab a pen and paper and write this saying down. A confused mind never buys. Okay. And a confused mind is also a bit similar to an overwhelmed mind. And when you blurt all your information at your prospect, because you're an expert about what you do, and you just start talking about all the benefits, and you're getting excited and you word vomit, which is what a lot of people do, you're overwhelming your prospect, and they're actually getting more confused, and that pushes you further and further away from the sale. So a confused mind and also an overwhelmed mind never buys. So you need to keep it simple. And the reason why the newbies sometimes had that bit of a spell at the beginning of doing really well in the sales coaching roles was because they didn't know enough about the product or service yet. So they asked questions. And that's the difference, is through asking questions to find out what the prospect wanted, they were then able to tailor the solution to what they were telling them. And this is what I teach my students. This is what you should be doing. Not word vomiting, asking questions. And then you allow the questions and answers that your prospects are giving you to tailor the solution. So it's like an individual solution to every single person. And that's basically what the newbies used to do. They just used to ask a ton of questions about what the prospect wanted, because they weren't experienced enough yet about the product or service. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I really took from, and obviously I wasn't a sales coach, but, you know, I've learned a lot about selling, whether it's in, you know, on social media, in Messenger, you know, in videos, in like the conversations piece, I hated doing, because of how I was taught in the earlier days. There was no training on how to have effective conversations. It was like, just talk to everybody that you can, you know, and anybody that was interested, whether in buying a product or, you know, in network marketing, it was about joining the team. I just used to, get so excited that someone was interested. I would just throw everything at them. And I didn't have that knowledge to know how to lead a conversation. And we all know what it's like. Like, we all are on social media a lot. And I'm sure every single person that's watching or listening to this episode has at some point had somebody message them in Facebook or Instagram or something and just go, hi, and just spout shit at you. And it's not their intention to spout shit at you, but again, they just don't know. And it never feels great, does it? And so this is why I wanted to bring Emma on today, because if you ever find yourself doing that, maybe you've learned about some tactics to go and just kind of, you know, get into people's inboxes and say, hey, you interested in this, and just kind of spam them your links or, you know, whatever. How Emma is going to kind of help you today with some tips is just like she's already giving, is going to help you so much, not only for you, but it's how it's perceived as well from your prospect. And asking questions is like the number one thing that I took from, to just make that shift, to make it feel better for you. And then it does become the obvious answer and solution is then what you do. Or it may not be. It might be, actually, do you know what? This isn't right for you. And that's a whole other conversation as well, right?
It is. But there's so many things that I could carry on with what you were saying there. But like you were just saying, what a lot of people will do is, you might get a prospect that will message you saying, can I have more information? You know, that's one of the favorite things they like. Can I have more info? Can you tell me a bit more about blah? And the novice seller, or like you just said, if you haven't got a skill set of selling, because it really is a skill set, will just then word vomit, overload, and then you're pushing your prospect away. So you've really got to stop doing that. You've got to stop. When your prospects ask you for more information about your product or service, you've got to stop blurting all this information out at them, because, like I said before, a confused mind never buys. But also, another rule to selling is the person who's doing the most of the talking is the person who is buying. So what that means is your prospect needs to be the one who's doing the most of the talking, not you. If you find you're the one who is talking way too much, you're the one who's buying. So you're buying them. And you do that doesn't work. It needs to be them talking 70% of the time. You need to be talking 30% of the time. Okay, which is why you have to ask questions, because then your prospect's doing more of the talking. And it's so easy when you're asking questions, you're asking the right questions, because it ends up becoming a nice, authentic conversation. Your prospect is doing most of the talking. So there's the rule, as in they're the ones who are buying, but they also think they're in charge, and they're not. You secretly are. You're steering the conversation with your questions, but your prospect feels like they're the ones in control because they're doing the most of the talking. So one of the easiest things you can do when someone comes to you and they ask for more information is not to give it. You've got to return the question with a question, okay? And what I like to teach my students, or one of the easiest things that you can say right out the gate, is, yeah, great. What was it about the service that got you interested? Or what has you asking for more information? What was it about what you've just saw that you were interested in? Okay, it's one of the easiest first things you can ask to get control of the conversation and to ask a question, so then you can go in the right direction. Because what tends to happen as well, if someone comes to you and they ask for more information and you just go and blurt all this information, you could end up talking for like 20 minutes about something that they're not even interested in. Okay, let's take like a mobile phone, for example. Let's say you want a new mobile phone and you're going into the store and you come to an expert, not someone who's just started at the store, but you come to an expert who loves to talk about mobile phones and thinks they know everything about every device in the shop. And you say, can you tell me a little bit more about this phone? And then the phone expert goes on and on and on about features about this phone and blah, 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 blah. And you've switched off after 10 minutes because all you really wanted to know was, does it take good pictures? I'm not interested in having a phone for all the latest gadget and gizmos. I actually want to use my phone to take good quality photos, for example. And that expert has gone on and on for just splurting out all this information that you weren't even interested in. Where if the sales expert, or let's say you went into the store and you probably went to the newbie person or someone who has got sales experience, or the newbie person that doesn't know enough about phones, what they probably would have done was ask a question, as in, well, what is it you're looking for? Yeah. What is it that you want from your phone? And then you just simply said, well, I'm not bothered about it having all this, that, and the other, and the latest gadgets and gizmos and being able to do this. I want to be able to, I mainly use my phone for taking photos. I want a good quality camera. So then that person can eliminate all the other phones that won't be a good fit and just start talking about the one that would be. And by continuing to ask more questions, then tailor that phone to what that person wants. And that's really what sales is you've got to keep asking questions and asking the right questions so you can fit the right solution, or not. It might not be a good fit for them, and that's totally cool to do that in a sales conversation, by the way. Yeah, so did that make sense? As in,
yeah, absolutely. It's like the phone example is a great one, because it's like, if you don't ask questions, you're making assumptions. Like if if me and my husband walked into a phone shop, we would have, even though we're a similar age, we would have very different wants and needs. Like I am all about, I love my gadgets, but for me, I need storage. I need, actually, do you know what? I don't even use my phone to half of its abilities, but my husband, he's a tradie, so he needs it to be resilient. He needs it to be like, he doesn't need loads of storage, but he loves watching videos online. Or if it was my mum, like my mum, she has the most basic phone. She just needs, a half decent camera. She needs email, get online, very simple. Between me and her is very different. But especially if it is an age thing, like you can't, but there's going to be people that might be my mum's age that are super whizzy and they love all the technology stuff. So again, it's that assumption, isn't it, that if you don't ask, you're assuming, so if you've asked about this, whether it's a post, and that's the thing, like you mentioned earlier, if they've messaged you, that is the great thing in the first place. That's one of the hardest things to do, is actually learning the skills to know, how can I get people to reach out to me? But if you are having people reach out to you, like you said, what is it they've responded to? Was it a post? Was it a video? Was it whatever you kind of do to put yourself out there? Has someone just randomly found you, or have you actually purposely put a post out that's talking about stuff? So there's something in them that saw, this is for me, and I want to know more. I love that analogy of the phone. That was a great one.
And that is where I would always start out, as in, let's unpack why you've reached out to me. Let's dig deeper on that, because then you can just cut out all the unnecessary and the assumptions and get straight to the point. There was exactly what you were just talking about with the phones examples. If you've got the person in the sales position who knows what they're doing and they're asking the questions, they were the ones who'll be closing more sales than the person who's spouting too much information, because they're tailoring the needs to the individual. People buy for their reasons, not yours. So you have to find out what those reasons are in order to close the sale. So yeah, that every time I do a sales call now, if I'm talking to a student, my very first question is, what was your motivation for scheduling on my calendar today? So for anyone out there who's you've got your own product, services, you're a coach, it's one of the best questions you can ask. It's like, filter out all the crap that you don't need and get straight to the stuff that you do need. Let them tell you what was their motivation behind scheduling on your calendar or scheduling to talk with you today. And they'll just tell you exactly what it is. And then you can start asking questions around that to get closer to the sale. I love that approach because you just cut out the noise.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like the last thing, like I don't do many sales calls because I don't want to be spending loads of time on Zoom or, you know, the constant back and forth. But I'm much more likely now that I've at least got some, like I'm not a pro at kind of sales conversations, but I know enough and I've learned enough, again, luckily from some amazing people, that again, comparing to like the first few times I started getting onto Zoom with people, if they wanted more information, it took practice. Like you said, you know, you had that time to just practice and practice and practice. And so it's one of those things you can't expect to be great without getting in there and doing it. So your first few calls might be a bit, you know,
and they will be.
They might go a bit long, but I think the point is the more you can practice, and you don't want to be on a call with someone for an hour. Like if you can use Emma's tips and kind of get those early questions in, it's going to make if you are wanting to do, you know, if you do have a product, you know, program, or if you're doing one-on-one coaching or something there, you really want to kind of vet people, because it's a two-way thing, isn't it? It's like they are sussing you out, but also vice versa. The last thing you want is to work with someone that you think is just annoying. They're going to suck the time and energy out of you. So it's for both of you to do that. And so at least if you can make your calls as kind of succinct as possible, so neither of you are wasting loads and loads of time, when actually you could get it down to almost like a fine art of 30 minutes, or it could even be 20, or, you know, like whatever you want, rather than thinking, oh God, the last thing I want to be doing is spending 3 hours of my day and I'm only having 3 calls. That's not going to be fun for anyone.
It's 100% why you need a process. And that's what I have. That's what I set out in my book. It's actually a step-by-step process that you need to follow, questions that you need to ask to go from the beginning of the call to the sale at the end. Because if you don't have a process to follow, you will end up on a call for who knows how long. And so if you're advertising, like, you know, jump on a strategy session with me or something like that, and you're basically saying it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes long, if you don't have a process, you won't stick to that. And then, you know, you're not coming across as professional and you're kind of wasting other people's time. So you 100% have to have a process, and that's exactly what I teach inside my book. And what I teach as well is how, you know, to eliminate the time wasters. I also ask a specific question at the beginning of a call or a Zoom, or even if you're doing it over Messenger chat, there's something that you can ask at the very beginning to eliminate the time wasters. And that is basically giving people an idea of what to expect. So let's say it's a sales call. Let's say it's a strategy session. You've got to lay out at the very beginning what people can expect from that strategy session, so they're clear on how it's going to go. And what I like to say at the very beginning is, you know, I'm basically just looking to see if my program is a good fit for you. And if it's not, I'm totally okay with that. And if it is a good fit, I'll talk about what I have to offer, and then we'll make a decision together if it's worth moving forward. And I'll ask a question of, are you okay with that? Or how does that sound? So I basically give people the opportunity at the very beginning to go, oh, do you know what? I didn't realize this was a paid program. I didn't realize this was going to cost. I'm actually not in a position to invest. And I had that conversation actually with a lady yesterday who wanted to jump on my calendar. But I asked her a few questions, and it turned out that she's not quite in a position to invest at the moment. So it was like, well, it's not a free service, because you will get people that will try and jump on your calendar just to like pick your brains. So if you're running your business properly and you want to run it like a business, it's okay for you to have boundaries and not let people like that jump on your calendar. So I wasn't rude or anything like that, but I was able to eliminate that call before it even happened, because it was a case of like, okay, well, this is a paid program and I don't think it's a good fit for you right now. And being able to tell people like, no, and that this isn't a good fit for you is a win.
Yeah.
That is actually a win, because it's creating boundaries, it saves you time, and it gives people the opportunity, when you kind of ask those things at the beginning of a consultation or whatever it is you're doing, it gives the other person the opportunity to drop out and go, actually, now you've told me a little bit more about how this is going to go. I don't think this is for me. It's very rare that I do have that happen, by the way, but it's a good thing to be able to do that right up front, not 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour after you've spent that time, for someone then to go, oh, do you know what? I wasn't ready to invest in something. It's like, really? I've just wasted an hour of my time. You want to get those time wasters, or anyone where it's just like, actually, this wasn't for me, out the door at the very beginning.
Yeah. And I think that's a key thing there, because I think so many people, they just get so fixed on, I want to make a sale, that they kind of allow those, like you mentioned, allow those boundaries to not be there, because they're so fixed on, well, this is someone who's interested. And actually it's, the last thing you want is either to be having people who wasting your time. Maybe they end up buying because they felt pressured, and they might end up wanting a refund. And it's a whole like knock-on effect. And it's like, actually, you need to be confident in yourself and believe in yourself and what you do. Like you said, we're running a business, and that's why I stopped doing a lot of these free calls, because I was giving so much. And I create a lot of content. Like, people get so much from even just this show. I give a lot, but when it comes to that one-on-one time, my content I create, and the same with you, like the content you create, it goes on our social platforms, so lots of people can get lots of value, which is great. But when you're talking about that one-on-one time, and one of the biggest things I see from peers is they want to reduce that one-on-one time, because it can be draining. So I was like, do you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun when I'm getting on calls with people that they weren't even willing to invest in $27 ebook. And it's like, I'm sorry, my time is worth more than that. Like, so and I love that. So be confident in yourself and what you do. And there are a lot of people that's really difficult for you. So if you need help with that, that's where I can help you in with my mindset coaching, is I can help you really overcome some of that, because I know that's a big kind of deep rooted thing where some people they just can't say no. And you need to be able to set boundaries for yourself, respect yourself and what you do. And like that very simple couple of questions, actually you can get to the point and at least realize if somebody is worth investing that time in to talk to more. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because especially as my journey's gone on, like it was all about just kind of giving everyone everything. And it's like, actually, do you know what, this the whole pick your brain, it's like, no. Now if somebody comes to me going, oh Jenny, can I ask you about this, I'm like, sure, here's how you can book an hour of my time. It's actually a paid service. And people are like, oh well, okay,
maybe not then. Eliminate the freebie seekers. And apologies, I've got a neighbor drilling now. I don't know if you can hear that on the video.
No.
Well, I've got a neighbor drilling as well. So, but and I think the more you do this, your posture is so much in sales. And like you said, that there are so many fears around selling, it's not even funny. And a lot of people don't even realize that they have them. And this is where Jenny can help you, because selling is so much about what's going on inside your mind, your blocks, your mindset blocks. And I do often say this, is people don't realize the fears they have around selling, but a lot of it is like to do with their preconceived conceptions of selling as well.
Yeah.
So this fear of coming across as salesy, is probably because you're attaching it to, if you've ever felt sold to in the past, and I mean, we've all had those situations where you've had like a sleazy car salesman or whatever, and there's so much of that attached to the word sales and salesy that just puts people off to begin with, of like, I just do not want to come across as this salesy person because of these preconceived experience, these past experience you've had in sales situations where you felt really sold to, and you're thinking, I do not want to come across like that with anyone. And again, that is why because I used to be like that as well. That was one of the things that I struggled with when I was a sales coach at the beginning. You asked me that question before. Mine was coming across as salesy. And I also used to avoid asking for the sale. But this wasn't something that I realized I had until I worked on my mindset and my mental blocks years down the line. And I kind of was able to put the pieces of the jigsaw together and realize, wow, I really did like skirt the sale so much.
And that's a really good point. I want to talk about that for a second, because that's key, because there might be so many people out there doing these discovery calls, having conversations, and like you said, they're skirting around the sale. It's like, actually, at the end of the day, you're both having this conversation for a reason. Somebody has seen something that they wanted to, either they've sparked the conversation or maybe you sparked the conversation, either way, but you're there for a reason, because you've got something to help them. And especially by using the questions, that's where I think that really eliminates that fear, isn't it? Because actually, and by asking questions, then it is a no-brainer. So if you do have that fear where you're just like, I don't want to sell, well, at the end of the day, you're running a freaking business. So you need to get that out of your head, because at the end of the day, you are selling. You go to Tesco's and buy your food shopping, they're selling, but you don't feel like you're being sold to, because you're there. You've got a problem. I need food and groceries, and I'm going to go somewhere that I know can provide that solution. That's what you are, whether it's your own products or services, you're an affiliate, you're a network marketing, whatever. You have a solution to somebody's problem. And so by asking questions, then it's well, I've got something that can help you with this. Do you want to, and it is that, how do you then say it? So can you give a couple of little examples or tips that you can give? How do you transition from the transition? That's the hardest bit. Is so hard, isn't it? Like, even then I found that I got awkward. So that's obviously something that I need to work on too.
And I mean, this is probably another podcast or another video for another day, going into the mindset of selling. And it really was quite a deep thing that I discovered about why I skirted around the sale. But I'll give you those examples in a second, but I do just want to reiterate as well, that's why I loved learning the process of asking the right questions and actually having a step-by-step process, because the way I teach my clients, my students, to ask the questions as well is they invoke authentic responses. So you really are just it's not salesy, it's not gimmicky, it's not pushy at all. Sales needs to be about authentic conversations. That's all it is, having real conversations. And that's why I love, I actually enjoy my sales calls, because they're just like having a chat with someone, and I hardly talk. I know I'm doing a lot of it now, but they're doing most of the talking. I'm asking questions and then just seeing if it's a fit for them. It takes all the pressure off you. There is no pressure on you, because all you're doing is asking questions and they're answering them, and you're thinking, is this a good fit or is it not? So that's why I love that process. It just feels, especially if you feel icky and you don't enjoy doing it, you need a process and you need to be able to ask the right questions, and it will eliminate a lot of that feeling. If you're someone that skirts around the sale, who avoids asking for the sale, or just gets nervous or uncomfortable when it comes to the transition of, okay, now I've got to ask, would you like to buy? Would you like to join? Would you like to join my program? Would you like my service? So many people have a problem with that, because it's like, what's the saying? Something meets the road. Is it rubber meets the road?
Rubber meets the road.
I make these sayings up on these calls, it's quite embarrassing, but the rubber meets the road. You're in business. This is the skill that you actually need, probably more than anything, to be able to close the sale. So, and I still don't like asking such a direct close. of, would you like to join? Are you ready to buy? Okay. So one of my mentor taught me, and I love it, and I still use it today. One of the easiest transitions that you can do, and it is a close, but it's not such a direct in your face close, is you can ask your prospect or your client, whoever you're speaking to, what should happen next? What would you like to happen next? Okay. So they're still telling you what they'd like to happen next, but so it's a close, but it's not such a blatant in your face, would you like to join? And I still use that as my close question. It's the only close question you ever need to ask. And I'm so grateful that my mentor taught me that, because I still use it all the time. What would you like to happen next? What do you think should happen next? And they'll either say, they'll either tell you an objection, if they've still got some objections, or they'll just say, yeah, I'm ready to join, or how much is it? You know, so you get straight to the price of whatever it is you're selling. So I love that as an easy transition.
Yeah.
If you're someone that you've got something there, it's a good, nice transition question to use.
I love that. And like you said as well, actually, if somebody hasn't quite got enough information yet, they've got that opportunity to easily say, well, I'm still a bit confused about this, or can you tell me how, especially because we've all got different personalities, haven't we? We've got the, the whole like color thing. You got the people that need the detail, like, well, how exactly would it work? Or like, that you're going to have different types of people that need different things. So I love that question. I'm totally writing that down.
Because again, they tell you.
Yeah, exactly. Puts it in their court. Love it.
Yeah, if they've then got an objection, because they're going to say it to you. And you'll know if they need to see more proof, because they might ask for it. This might be a bit where you need to insert a testimonial or a client case study. So you're in control of the conversation, but they're leading you to what they need. They're telling you what they need. It's not you assuming, it's the questions that allow you to close the sale every single time. So I do love to use that one. Another one that I just popped into my head as we were saying that, another test, this is like a test close that I like to use. So I will say to people, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 0 being this is not for you whatsoever, and 10 is you'd like to join right now, where would you say you are right now on that scale? And I let them tell me. And this happens sometimes, not all the time. The most common response is like a 7 to 9, but you will get the odd person that will say 10. And it's like magic, because all you have to do then is shut up. Don't get in the way of the sale. Don't sabotage it. That's another thing that I used to do. Just take their credit card details and make the sale. As soon as someone gives you a 10, you just go straight to the sale. If someone gives you a 7 to 9, you know that they're really interested, but they've just got something else. It's probably an objection or some more information that they need. So then you can simply ask, what else do you need to see or hear to help you become a 10? And again, let them tell you what it is that's missing to stop them from making the decision. So I love the test close, because again, they're telling you where they're at. If they say a 10, you go straight into the close. 7 to 9, you can ask another question of what do they need to see or hear in order to become a 10. And if you get someone who's a 0 to 6, well, then it hasn't gone quite well. And they might not be a good fit for your program. But again, you can get a winning outcome with a no. Because what you don't want when you're trying to close sales is someone telling you a maybe. How many times do people say to you, can I think about it? Can I get back to you? I need to speak to my other half. Sometimes that is true. Sometimes that is genuine, where they do need to speak with their other half and run things through. But a lot of the time, can I have a think about it means you're never going to see me again. Okay, it just does. It's an easy cop out. That and the money objection. I mean, we're going off topic a little bit here. I know I could see I'm going off on a tangent, but it's never about the money. If someone wants something, they'll find a way to get it. Sometimes it genuinely can be, okay, they haven't got enough money, but you will know in their tone of voice. And again, if you ask the right questions, you can find out whether it's genuine or it's just a cop out. But let me have a think about it is, I'm going to fall off the face of the earth and you're going to be chasing me forever. So getting a no is actually more of a win than a maybe. Getting a no, this isn't for me, because that means you can draw a line through that client and move on. Well, you can actually ask for a referral. That's what you should be doing. But you can just, okay, move on. It's not for you. And maybe means that you're going to have to maybe have a follow-up call, more time. You could be then chasing the person. The maybe is worse than a no. So actually, a 0 to 6, and this isn't right for me, is better than someone then wasting more of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is true. Like, I mean, yeah, there are times, you know, when you're like, oh God, I really don't have the money. But if it's a high priority or not, you will find a way. Like I've done that, where I've remembered I had a credit card. It was like, okay, even though I'm going to pay a bit of interest on this, but you know what, I really want to do this program. So I'm going to take the hit of some interest from, you know, paying a credit card. But it is what it is. It's a priority. So yeah, people sell stuff. Like I've known people that have taken on a second job, you know, part-time job to pay for stuff. Like if you want it bad enough, you will find a way. So
how many people have mobile phones, cars that they can't even afford?
Yeah.
That are on credit or bought with a credit card. When someone wants something, I only need to look at my child, my eldest child. When she wants something, she is relentless. Absolutely relentless. I've got my work cut out with her. So if someone wants your program, and that's like, you know, you need to be asking the right questions throughout your call or whatever it is you're doing to actually get them to have that desire. If they want something, they'll find a way to get it. And that's why you have payment plan options, or you should have payment plan options, or it might just generally be a case of, I haven't got the funds right now, but I want this. So then you can start asking questions of, okay, what type of plans are you going to put in place? You know, is there anything you're going to do differently to kind of make this happen? And scheduling a follow-up call to see if you can make that happen. And one of the easiest ways to find out if it's genuine or not is a question I love to ask is, okay, so you're saying that if you had the money that you'd be investing and you'd be joining right now. And if it's not, you can tell by their answer. If it's not a resounding like, oh my God, yes. If it's like, maybe, but if it's not a resounding yes, it's not about the money. It was a cop-out. And people don't even realize they use it as a cop-out because the money objection is so common and they've probably been using it for years. It's never about the money. So when I ask that question and someone says, probably, but they will then reveal an objection. So then I can find out really what's the thing that's holding them back, not the money. What was the real thing why they're not investing? And it's probably something as simple as they don't believe enough yet that it can make a difference for them. They need to see more proof. They perhaps need a testimonial. They need a case study. They need to see something in black and white. So that question as well, it's a good one because it reveals the true objection and it lets you know whether it really was about the money. If it is, they'll say, yes, absolutely. And then you can work with them and coach them and say, okay, can we work? Will a payment plan work? Or it'll reveal the fact that it actually wasn't about the money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. It's like you will, it is that most people will think is the main thing they want to know is, will this work for me? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So if there is something lacking, and it's always, I mean, the thing I find as a marketer is when something's new, like I've released a new program a few months ago. And so it's always a little bit more difficult to sell something when it's like, well, I haven't done this before. So you haven't got the testimonials, you haven't got like, it's a test, but then you can use that to say, look, this is the first time, like how I kind of positioned my new program was, well, this is the first time I'm doing it. So I gave people like an early bird, or you can tell people you're going to be part of like a beta round. We're going to kind of build this together. And some people love that, you know, if they get a bit of money off or they're part of creating something, if you're upfront. And kind of how I used other types of testimonials. So I used feedback and testimonials for other ways that people have worked with me, like whether it's from other courses or other programs. So it was still about kind of working with me, but may not be specifically about that exact program. But it's still a general, you know, like the stuff that people have provided. So if that's the case, again, because that can be, it's like, well, if I haven't got the proof, I haven't got the testimonials yet, that's fine. You can just let people know, look, hey, this is the first time I've run this, and I'm really excited to kind of have your input. You know, I want your feedback. I want you to kind of help me make this awesome. So, and some people will really enjoy that. So I think as long as you're upfront, then you're not feeling like, oh God, I'm having to try and make up. So, you know, don't get fake testimonials and stuff. And it lets them know as well, like, hey, I'm really excited to run this brand new thing. You can be a part of it.
And again, if you're confident on the call when you're asking the questions and they're telling you where they're stuck, what their problems, what their pains are, if you're confident that you can help them, again, it's about that posture, as in, okay, you might not have ran this program before, but you feel really confident that this is a good fit for you and I can actually help you. And that's where experience and practice comes in, because the more you do this, you will just get more and more confident as you do these calls as well. But again, this is the way I set up the questions that I teach, is it's to build trust on the call. The questions also build trust in you, because that's a massive hurdle that you have to overcome in order for someone to buy from you, which is why it's all about authentic conversations. Because they're coming into this situation where they're back up. They probably know they're going to be sold to. So they're already like ready to withhold information. They're already ready to lie, because you've got to build that know, like, and trust factor, even on a call. Because those are really like the barriers you have to overcome before someone will buy from you. They've got to be able to trust you. So if you're asking the right questions and you're doing everything, following the process, and you're doing it right, by the end of the call, even if you've never spoken to anyone before, you should have ticked the boxes of they know, like, and trust me more. So it's going to be a lot easier for them to invest in you, because you've built that relationship on the call. And one of the easiest things that actually does that is when you're doing less of the talking. You know, I mentioned before, they should be doing 70% of the talking and you should only be doing 30%. What another thing that does, it's not just the analogy of if your prospect is talking more, they're more likely to buy. It's because when they're being listened to, like truly listened to, that's what builds trust. Because most people in life are not used to being listened to. They're not. Most people are used to being spoken at. So that's how you can easily beat the competition, is by asking questions and listening, because then the prospect's thinking, I'm being listened to here. Someone's really listening to me. And that just instantly builds trust in you.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's people feel like they're being listened to. And like, even if you're the shyest person, it's like if you go to a party or something, if someone's asking you questions, like I am a bit introverted. I'm like an extroverted introvert. But as soon as I hate making the first move in terms of starting a conversation with someone I don't know. I hate it. But if someone comes to me and just asks a couple of questions, as soon as I start and I feel like someone's interested, then I start waffling away and I can talk for England. They become my new best friend. And it's the same with a call. If you just take that interest and ask the questions and let them talk and you listen, and then they feel, oh, this person actually cares about me. They're actually interested in me. And that is what does it. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. This is just amazing, Emma. You're so many nuggets. I hope everyone is taking lots of notes. So before we kind of wrap up, I just want, because you've mentioned your book a few times. So obviously Emma is so awesome at this. So I wanted her to tell you about this book that she's actually created, where you can actually get a lot of this process. So if you really want to kind of develop your skills and have some structure for that, then Emma, I'd love for you to just kind of tell people about this book that you wrote.
Yeah, so it's the entire process, basically, literally A to Z, from the very first question that you ask all the way to the close. So you have a step-by-step process of knowing what questions to ask. And I gave lots of different examples for different industries, because this literally can work for anything. You just need to basically tailor the questions to what you do. So there's a strategy behind it. They're not like so specific. There's a strategy, and the questions fit into the strategy. And I go through all of that in the book. And it's called The Selling Plan. I've got it here. It's available on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. It's on Amazon worldwide. Yeah. So how to get new customers, make more money, and sell like crazy. I've got quite a common name. There's a lot of Emma Joneses out there, so you probably have to type in The Selling Plan. If you just went to Amazon and typed in Emma Jones, it probably wouldn't come up. But yeah, I explain the whole process and give you all the questions to ask. And, you know, I've had testimonials back on this book from people saying they've doubled the income in their business on the back of applying the results, the strategies in the book. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll put links to this book in the show notes for you. So you can then just go and get the show notes. So if you're watching this on a video, again, check the link to the show notes where you can go and grab that resource. If you're listening to this on the podcast, again, it'll all be in the show notes for you. So you can just go and get yourself a copy. I haven't finished it yet. I started it ages ago, so I need to pick it up again. But I think I read about half of it, and it is fantastic. And I've seen all the reviews that have come in from Emma. So yeah, definitely go and grab that book. And like I say, she gives you the whole strategy. So go and grab that. And Emma, tell people how they can follow you. So if you want to kind of learn a bit more about selling and other awesome marketing stuff, tell people how they can find you online.
So I'm on Instagram. I'm on most social media channels under Success with Emma Jones. Again, I couldn't just keep it to Emma Jones. So it's actually under Success with Emma Jones on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, and I've also got a YouTube channel, Success with Emma Jones as well.
Love it. And again, we'll put all of those links below. So yeah, go follow Emma. She's awesome. We're always comparing marketing notes. We were doing that before we hit record. We were talking about Facebook ads and stuff. So yeah, Emma is an awesome
marketer, isn't it? Our little fellow UK peeps.
Yeah, we're in a very American world, so I know, and I love kind of meeting other UK people. I'm like, yay, another UK person. So yeah, we're always kind of comparing notes. Oh, thank you so much, Emma. This was amazing. I'm so pleased that I could bring you on. I wanted to bring you on, you know, for a while, so I'm glad that we could make this happen. And thank you for sharing your amazing knowledge and skills. I know it's going to help. It's already helping so many people, and I know that anyone who's tuning into this episode, if you apply it, get that book and apply what you learn, you're gonna see such a difference in yourself, your confidence, and the results from it, and have those authentic conversations and help you actually grow your business, which is what you want. So any kind of final words of wisdom or anything you want to share?
Just like the big bird's eye view is, it really is just about having authentic conversations. And that's why I love teaching my strategy. I use it. I have the exact same strategy in my own business because I don't feel icky. I don't feel salesy, and I just get to have a nice conversation with people. And there's no pressure. You know, I'm just finding out, is this a good fit for them? Finding out more about them by asking the questions and letting them just, you know, steer the conversation and tell me what it is they want. I just love the process because you don't feel salesy. And that's really what sales should be about, is just genuine, authentic conversations, no tricks, no gimmicks.
Yeah. And it literally, like, I used to avoid having conversations before until I learned a more effective way. And then I actually enjoyed it. And it was like, oh, wow. I used to think it was me. I thought it was me that sucked. And I thought it was me that was no good. But actually, it was just a process. It was the method. And so it's actually going to change the game for you. So love it. Thank you so much, Emma. This was awesome. I hope everybody found this valuable. Drop some love. Share this episode if you think anyone else would find this useful. And make sure you grab that book and join us next time, where we'll be coming to you for another episode of the Brilliantly You Business Show. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you soon.